We've all been there. You get this massive quote for a big home repair, and you just can't help but think, is there a cheaper way? Well, this is a story about what happens when that cheaper way goes completely off the rails. It's about how trying to save a few $1,000s on a new roof ends up becoming a $70,000 catastrophe. And it all starts with this phone call. The voice on the other end, a homeowner we're going to call Sarah, just sounds completely defeated. That one sentence? That's the sound of a dream deal turning into an absolute waking nightmare. So Sarah needed her flat roof replaced, and she did the smart thing. She got a couple of quotes. The first one, from a really reputable contractor, came in at $29,990. It was the whole shebang, a full tear-off of the old roof, a new membrane, fixing the drainage, everything by the book. But then, another offer came in. And this number right here is what changed everything. The second contractor said he could do the job for just $21,990. That's a full $8,000 cheaper. Now, for any of us, that is an incredibly tempting number. Who wouldn't want to save $8,000? But this is where the story takes a very dark turn. You see that $8,000 difference? That wasn't a saving. It was a trap, and it was meticulously set from the very beginning. And here's where the deception really kicks in, with just sheer audacity. When you put the two proposals side by side, it's obvious the second guy had basically just copied and pasted the first one. He stole the technical language, the maintenance tips, everything, just to make himself look professional. But it was all a smokescreen. Okay, so this is where those so-called savings came from. The legitimate quote on the left promised a full tear-off and specified premium brand name materials. The scammer's quote? It used vague terms like recovery, which, by the way, just means slapping a new roof over the old, rotten one, and promised quality materials without naming a single brand. And the warranties? Oh, it's night and day. One was backed by a real manufacturer, the other was just an empty promise on a piece of paper. So, believing she was getting the exact same job for a lot less money, Sarah hired the cheaper contractor. And it didn't take long for that dream deal to start falling apart. On the very first day of work, her phone rings. It's the contractor. He says he's discovered another layer of roofing that's going to cost extra to remove. But here's the thing. Any legitimate roofer would have found that during the initial estimate. This wasn't a surprise discovery. This was a planned upcharge, part of the game from the get-go. And the math just tells the whole story. The project starts with that tempting $22,000 quote. But after just 2 weeks of these surprise add-ons, the total had already ballooned to over $31,000. Now think about that for a second. She was now paying more than the original legitimate quote, and the real problems hadn't even started yet. From there, the project just went into a freefall. First, it was the extra charges. Then, Sarah started noticing actual water stains appearing on her ceiling. The work on the roof looked sloppy, and whenever she tried to call the contractor, suddenly he was impossible to reach. With winter closing in, she was basically trapped with a leaking, half-finished roof. Realizing she was in way over her head, Sarah made a really smart move. She hired a third-party, completely independent roof inspector to get up on that roof and document exactly what had been done, and maybe more importantly, what had been done wrong. And the inspector's report was just devastating. He found clear evidence of shoddy work everywhere he looked. Things like improper side lap detailing, which is absolutely crucial for preventing leaks on this type of roof. He even pointed out that the polyfilm, which is supposed to burn off completely during installation, was still visible. It was just amateur hour up there. But oh, it got worse. The contractor took some really dangerous shortcuts, like leaving debris on the roof surface and using the completely wrong kind of fasteners for the job. And here's the biggest sin of all. He never removed the old water-saturated membrane. He just covered up all the rot, literally trapping all that moisture inside the brand new roof system. And this right here is the inspector's final, brutal conclusion. The work was so bad that this brand new roof was guaranteed to fail, completely fail within 2 to 3 years. A properly installed roof should last 20 years. This wasn't a repair job. It was a ticking time bomb. So this brings us to the financial fallout. What did that $8,000 saving actually end up costing Sarah in the end? This is the true cost of that cheap quote. Over $71,000. That initial deal didn't just end up costing a little more, it more than doubled the price of the original, honest-to-goodness offer. So, how on earth do we get to a number that high? Well, let's break it down. You start with the original legitimate quote of almost 30,000. Sarah thought she saved 8 grand. But then you have to add back the almost 9,500 in surprise charges. Add the inspector's fee. Add another 4,500 for emergency Band-Aid repairs just to stop the leaks. And finally, you have to add the 35,000 it's going to cost to tear this entire mess off and do the job right in a couple years. The math is just brutal. Now, Sarah's story is incredibly frustrating, but it provides a really powerful lesson. So let's pivot from this cautionary tale to how you can avoid this exact same trap. It turns out this isn't just random bad luck. There's a predictable playbook these guys follow. Step 1, they copy a legitimate proposal to sound professional. Step 2, they secretly slash the actual work they're going to do to get the price way down. Then, once the job starts, they hit you with surprise costs, cut every corner with cheap materials, and when the real problems inevitably show up, poof, they're gone. And this is why knowing the red flags is everything. Look, if a price is like 30% cheaper than everyone else, that's a huge warning. Vague descriptions like roofing services mean nothing. Be really skeptical of outrageous warranty claims from a brand new company. Always check for local references you can actually pick up the phone and call. And never, ever pay a massive upfront deposit. So here's how you build your defense. First, demand details in any proposal. I mean, exact material brands, step-by-step plans, and proof that the tear-off and disposal are included. Then, you have to verify it yourself. Don't just take their word for it. Call the licensing board. Call their insurance company directly and confirm that their credentials are real and, more importantly, active. A few phone calls can literally save you a fortune. And that really is the question to leave you with, isn't it? Sarah thought she was getting a great deal, but all she really did was trade a straightforward $30,000 problem for a complicated $70,000 disaster. So the next time you see a quote that just looks too good to be true, remember this story and ask yourself, what's really being cut to get to that price?